Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So, welcome to another day of Kartik celebrations at Sri Sri Radha Damodar Mandir. As part of the Kartik month, we have been discussing the 5 important limbs of devotional service. So, starting with Sadhu Sangha, then Nama Kirtana, then Bhagavata Shravana, and starting today, we will be discussing about Mathura Vas. So, that is living at Mathura or residing in a holy place. So, as part of that, we will be having next six discussions on the importance of living in Mathura Vas. So, today we'll start with reading a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 25 and text 25. Vanam tu satviko vaso gramo rajasa uchyate tamasam tyuta sadanam manniketam tu nirgunam. Vanam tu satviko vaso gramo rajasa uchyate tamasam tyuta sadanam manniketam tu nirgunam. Vanam tu satviko vaso gramo rajasa uchyate tamasam tyuta sadanam manniketam tu nirgunam. Synonyms: Vanam, the forest; tu, whereas; satvikaha, in the mode of goodness; vasaha, residence; gramaha, the village neighborhood; rajasaha, in the mode of passion; uchyate, is said; tamasam, in the mode of ignorance; dyuta sadanam, the gambling house; matniketam, my residence; tu, but; nirgunam, transcendental. Translation and purport by and A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: residence in the forest is in the mode of goodness, residence in a town is in the mode of passion, residence in a gambling house displays the quality of ignorance, and residence in a place where I reside is transcendental. Translation with repetition: residence in the forest is in the mode of goodness, residence in a town is in the mode of passion, residence in a gambling house displays the quality of ignorance, and residence in a place where I reside is transcendental. Purport: many creatures in the forest, such as the trees, wild boars, and insects, are actually in the modes of passion and ignorance. But residence in the forest is designated as being the mode of goodness because there one may live in a solitary life free from sinful activities, material opulence, and passionate ambition. Throughout the history of India, many millions of persons from all walks of life have adopted the orders of Vanaprastha and Sannyasa, and have gone to secret forests to practice austerity and perfect their self realization. Even in America and other Western countries, persons such as Thoreau achieved fame by retiring to the forest to reduce the scope and opulence of material involvement. The word grama here indicates residence in the village of one's family. Family life is certainly full of false pride, false hopes, false affection, lamentation, and illusion. Since the family connection is squarely resting on the bodily concept of life, the very opposite of self realization, the word Dyuta Sadanam, gambling house, refers to pool halls, racetracks, poker clubs, bars, and other sinful places that maintain an abysmal level of consciousness in the mode of ignorance. Manniketam refers to the Lord's own abode in the spiritual world as well as the Lord's temples within this world, wherein the deity form of the Lord is appropriately worshipped. One who lives in the temple of Lord Krishna, following the rules and regulations of temple life, is understood to be residing on the transcendental platform. In these verses, the Lord clearly explains that all material phenomena may be divided into three divisions according to the modes of nature, and ultimately there is a fourth or transcendental division, Krishna consciousness, which elevates all aspects of human culture to the liberated platform. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, as part of this Kartik month series, we have been seeing that the central theme is the idea of yogam, or re-establishing our relationship with the Supreme Lord, is what the idea with which we have began. And then, if we had re-established our relationship with the Lord, what is the process? And the process that is established in the Vedic literatures is the process of Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga has 64 limbs, or according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as instructed to Sanatana Goswami, there are 64 limbs of devotional service, and out of them, the 5 are considered the most important. The 5 are Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtana, Bhagavata Shravana, Mathura Vasa, Sri Murtira Shraddhaya Sevana. So these 5 are the most important among those 64 limbs of devotional service. Now, one must recognize why these are so important. What is that makes these 5 limbs of devotional service more unique than any other process or any other limb of devotional services? Sakala sadhana shrestha e pancha anga, Krishna prema janmaya e panchera alpasanga. So the most unique quality about these 5 limbs of devotional service is that Krishna prema janmaya. So these, even by alpasanga, even if one is practicing one of these things, not all 5 of them, but even if a slight performance of these 5 or one of them awakens love for Krishna. So this is very, very special. These limbs are very special because love of Krishna is the rarest thing. It is very, very rare to achieve Krishna Prema. Krishna Prema is never bestowed very easily. Even Krishna does not talk about it. It is only by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that this idea of Krishna Prema, he has opened the storehouse of love for Krishna. Otherwise, it is hidden. No one knows. First of all, no one knows who is God, and it is furthermore difficult to know that one can love God. So that is awakened simply by practicing even a slight performance of these 5 awakens love for Krishna. So therefore, these are considered to be the best of all the limbs of devotional service. So now these 64 items of devotional service, or 64 limbs of devotional service, are such that they engage our body, mind, and the senses completely in the service of the Lord. And today, starting today, we will be discussing about Mathura Vasa, or residing at Mathura. And first of all, we will look into why is it important to live in a specific place or reside in a specific place like Mathura Dham or any of the Dham. So actually the word Dham refers to a place where Lord resides. So in one way, people may say that the Lord is present everywhere. Andantarastham, Paramanuchayantarastham. The Lord is present in every atom. He is all pervading. So what is the need to go and worship in specific place? Similarly, people also say the similar statement. If Lord is present everywhere, why should I go to the temple to worship the Lord? I can worship at my home. I can worship wherever I can. So what is the need to go to the temple? So people have these conceptions that I can go and all places are equal. I can do devotional service in any place. But actually that's not true. And therefore the verse that we chose today to discuss talks about the differences between different places. It is very important for everyone to know what is the difference between different places, and then further as we go into the other sessions, we will discuss more significance of the Mathura Dham, or residing in a spiritual Dham. So Prabhupada gives a very nice analogy. He gives a nice example by saying that although the kingdom belongs to the king, and in one sense, king is the proprietor of everything, and therefore his presence can be felt everywhere. But on the other hand, the king has his own place of residence. The king has a place of residence, which is usually called a palace or the royal palace. You can specifically meet him there for sure. So although in one sense the kingdom belongs to the king and king is indirectly present everywhere, but he is specifically present in his palace. So similarly, Prabhupada gives another example that you may see sunrise everywhere, but there is one place where you see the sunrise first. So it is said, Prabhupada gives the same example to state that Krishna first comes in Mathura. So the first sunlight comes to Mathura. So you can see him first there. So Prabhupada says that although in one way the Lord is proprietor and Lord can be found everywhere, but it is for advanced devotees who can see the Lord everywhere. But in general, for everyone, it is recommended to visit these places of Dham to make great spiritual advancement. Now, it is important to distinguish between the place of residence like Mathura and other places to appreciate why Mathura is so important, or Mathura Vasa, residing in a spiritual Dham, in a holy place. Why is it so significant? Let us look at this verse. So actually in Bhagavad Gita, if one looks at the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Lord instructs Arjuna in the aspects of Ashtanga Yoga, there is description about how one should live in a secluded place. The yogis who want to advance in spiritual life, they are not meant to live in modern day cities. In fact, Srila Prabhupada, when in the book Perfection of Yoga and other books where he talks about yoga, he says that the way people practice yoga in studios and things, that's not the way to practice. Because one is supposed to practice yoga in a secluded place. Now, why is that required? And in fact, Prabhupada writes, not only secluded place, they would go to a sacred place. Usually they would choose a place on the banks of important rivers like Ganga, Yamuna, and they would make a cottage. Even in the recent lecture which Prabhupada was talking about Asat and Sat, Prabhupada was mentioning about how Vyasadeva, although he compiled so many literatures, he was living on a simple cottage on the bank of the river Saraswati. Similarly, Chanakya Pandit, he was a great politician. Uh, he, uh, he was also residing in a small cottage, because those who want to advance in spiritual culture, they do not want to be entangled with the messes of this material entanglement, and therefore they like to live in a place which is favorable for spiritual advancement. And here, in this verse, it is being discussed, Vanam tu satviko vaso. So here it is being said, vasaha, or residence. So residing in forest is considered to be living in the mode of goodness. So mode of goodness means mode of goodness is required to actually make spiritual advancement. Without coming to the mode of goodness, it is actually very difficult to appreciate the spiritual subject matter. But coming to the mode of goodness is like the springboard from which you can jump and you can cross over. You can. Srila Rupa Goswami says that if one comes to the mode of goodness, the understanding how to make further advancement will also come. So the mode of goodness is full of illumination, it's full of knowledge. And therefore, the saintly people, especially the saintly people and the people in Vanaprastha and Sannyasa life, they would go to a place which is favorable. Favorable means which is the mode of goodness. And therefore, we can see that saintly people choose to live in, as we know in the earlier days, we see they do tapasya in various forests, they live in various forests. We can see that how the Bhakti Vedantis, they were traveling through the forest and they meet Narada Muni, and so on and so forth. So it is very important that the practitioners who want to advance in spiritual culture must choose a place which is at least in the mode of goodness. And one example that is given here is that of the forest. And then Gramo Rajasa Uchyate. Prabhupada in other places talks about the cities. Here Gramaha, the village neighborhood or the places of residence in general, is considered to be the mode of passion. Especially these cities are considered to be even more in the mode of passion. The mode of passion means a lot of desires, lot of material desires, lot of hankerings. So it is filled with passionate environment to achieve something material. So one who is entangled in the material race cannot really make great advancement in spiritual life. And therefore, these places are not favorable for one who wants to advance in spiritual life. So the family life, the life of work, life of competition, life of struggle for the existence is so high. And unwanted social interactions are so high. But in a forest, there is no unwanted social interaction. Therefore, one can focus in the business of spiritual culture. So the city life is considered to be mode of passion. And tamasam dyuta sadhanam. Prabhupada translated dyuta sadhanam as the gambling house. And one who is spending time in these places is living in the mode of ignorance. The clubs, the various kinds of gambling houses, restaurants, the hotels, these are usually the places of mode of ignorance. So that's why, in fact, even once, I think in Switzerland, Srila Prabhupada was made to stay in a big hotel. Prabhupada said, no, I don't want to live here. I would better live in the temple. They said, no, Prabhupada, the temple is very small, it's very difficult. He said, does it matter? I would rather stay in a temple than this big palatial hotel. So Prabhupada, even personally, never preferred to stay in these places of so-called big hotels and so on and so forth. He always preferred to stay in a temple, even though it is a small accommodation, just a single room. He would rather prefer to always stay in the temple. Now, here in this verse, finally it is said, Mat Niketam tu Nirgunam. Mat Niketam is translated as my residence. But there is something higher than the mode of goodness, and that is the mode of transcendence, Nirgunam, which is beyond the modes of material nature. It is not influenced by the modes of material nature. So the Lord is saying that my residence is beyond these three modes of material nature. So any place where Lord resides, it is free from the three modes of material nature. Now this is very important that for one who wants to transcend these modes of material nature, who wants to be situated on the transcendental position, one's constitutional position of being the servant of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, these places where the Lord is personally present, these places are the extremely favorable places for one to quickly transcend the modes of material nature. And therefore, people we can see, sometimes people come to the temple and they say, we find peace. Like some people come and cry, they say, oh, we are finding so much peace here. Because this place is freed from the modes of material nature. The whole world outside this pocket of this temples that Srila Prabhupada has created, they are filled with modes of passion and ignorance. But as soon as they come into the space of mode of goodness, and in fact, mode of transcendental goodness. So immediately they feel a sense of relief, a sense of shelter, without which people are all disturbed, and the soul is filled with the material anxieties and um, is trapped, and therefore is full of anxiety, cannot overcome, cannot experience the transcendental abode of the Lord. The transcendental abode of the Lord, or Vaikuntha, in other words, is place which is free from kuntha. Kuntha means anxiety, Vaikuntha means a place which is free from anxiety. So one who actually resides in a temple and who follows the rules and regulations as given by a pure devotee is freed from all anxieties. And now we will discuss a few more things about what it means to live in Mathura Vas. So Mathura Vas, in other words, is to live in a place where the Lord resides. So one is to really live in the Vrajamandala, or the place where Lord performed his activities, where he appeared. So that is one. And it is said the Mathura Dham, the Vrindavan Dham, and Navadvip Dham, Jagannath Puri, Dwaraka Dham, these are the different places, especially Mathura, Navadvip, Mayapur, and Dwaraka Dham is the place where Lord has performed his pastimes. Lord has personally set his foot, and therefore everything there is connected with the Lord. And therefore, it is not an ordinary material city. So from a mundane perspective, these places may look like any other city, but actually they are transcendental. They are replica of the real spiritual Dham, even in the beyond this material existence. This material existence is said to be just 1/4 of the existence of the Supreme Lord. There is another 3/4 existence of the Lord, which is all spiritual. And in those spiritual planets, there is the Mathura Dham, the Navadvip Dham, Dwarka Dham, an exact replica of them is present here. So Prabhupada writes that Mathura Dham, or Mathura city, is not an ordinary material city, for it is eternally connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because Mathura and Vrindavan are intimately connected with Krishna eternally, it is said that Lord Krishna never leaves Vrindavana. Vrindavanam parityajya padam ekam na gacchati. So it is said that Lord never leaves this place. So those who are advanced in spiritual life, they can actually perceive the Lord performing his pastimes. And therefore, because it is so intimately connected, that the remembrance of the Lord becomes very natural and easy. And because these dhams are non-different from the Lord, they are as good as the Lord Himself. And therefore, they possess all the six attributes, Shadaishwarya Purna. The Lord is said to possess six opulences in full. And it is said, because these dhams, these abodes of the Lord, are non-different from Him, all these places also contain all those six attributes, Shadaishwarya, all those in full. Therefore, the benefit that one acquires by associating with the Lord, one can acquire the same benefits by associating with His holy dhams, His abodes. And it is said the Lord is eternally present there. So, at present, the place known as Vrindavana is in the district of Mathura, continues its position as a transcendental place, and certainly anyone who goes there becomes transcendently purified. So, this is very important. What happens when one lives in a transcendental abode of the Lord, in a transcendental place, is that one becomes transcendently purified. So, just like the name of the holy name of the Lord is all pure, and by associating with the holy name of the Lord, we become purified. Simply by taking Krishna Prasadam, we get purified. Simply by taking darshan of the Lord, we get purified. Similarly, by associating with the Lord's holy dham, we become purified. Navadvip Dham is also intimately connected with Rajabhumi. So Lord Krishna appeared in Mathura and He performed His pastimes in Vrindavan and also in Dwarka Dham. Similarly, Lord appeared as Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadvip Dham and He performed His pastimes. And according to Srila Narottam Das Thakur, there is no difference between Vrindavan Dham and Navadvip Dham. He writes, Shri Gauda Mandala Bhumi Eba Jane Chintamani Tarahaya Prajabhumi Vasa. Prajabhumi refers to Mathura Vrindavan and Gauda Mandala Bhumi includes Navadvip. These two places are non-different. Therefore, anyone living in Navadvip Dhama, knowing Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the same personality, lives in Rajabhumi, Mathura Vrindavana. So, these are the places by which one can directly connect with the Lord. And the remembrance of the Lord is very easy because there are saintly people who are residing in these places. And Prabhupada talks about what it means to live in, what it means to go to a place of pilgrimage or a holy place. Today, one of the idea of going to a holy place is sightseeing. Just like people today, tourism is a famous economic activity, and therefore people think that to visit the holy dham is also like visiting another tourist sightseeing location. So people go there, try to find a good restaurant, spend some time in a good looking temple and go back, or visit some things here and there, take some photos. But that is not what one is supposed to do when one goes to a holy dham. Srila Prabhupada mentions that when one goes to holy dham, one must look for a sadhu who is in the knowledge of signs of Krishna. Those sadhus who are advanced in devotional service, those who are constantly engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. So if we were to go to a dham, the way to associate with the dham is to hear from the sadhus, hear from the bona fide sadhus from the dham. That is the most important activity that one must do when one goes to dham. Similarly, when one comes to a temple, sometimes people come to the temple, but they do not know that if they do not hear in the temple about Krishna Katha, they will not be able to appreciate the glories of the temple. They will not be able to appreciate how to take darshan. What is this temple that it is offering? What the holy dham is offering, we do not know. We'll just go and come out without really appreciating what is that we are supposed to do in the holy dham. How is it different from any other place? So this is happening in modern day, where every dhams are also kind of people are not able to appreciate dhams more because they are not having that spiritual association that is needed to appreciate the presence of the holy dham. So as soon as one comes in touch with a sadhu, immediately one further gets purified, one gets direction how to live in a Dham. And it is said it is not recommended for one to live in Vrindavan, although it is very congenial, unless one is freed from material hankerings. One must be freed from material hankerings. So it is said that if one goes to Vrindavan just to create another family life and live a life for sense gratification, it is still better than living somewhere else, but one has to still take birth as a monkey in next life or as another animal in Vrindavan. So persons who want to live in Vrindavan must be freed from this idea of sense gratification. And therefore it is not for everyone to just go and live in Vrindavan. And therefore Prabhupada also suggested that one should go for only few days and come back, so that one does not commit any of the Dham offenses. Furthermore, it is said that Srila Prabhupada said that he has created these temples all across. These are also transcendental abodes. So if anyone is worshipping the deities the rightful way and one is living life according to the principles given in the Shastras and by Srila Prabhupada, one is actually living in a spiritual abode of the Lord. Because these are also nirgunam. These are also freed from the three modes of material nature. And therefore, they are very, very favorable to make our purification. We get purified very, very quickly. And therefore, one must be very, very fortunate to actually find a place very, very close. And maybe after this class, we will auction the front house and get more people to live in the front house after recognizing the importance of the holy Dham. But actually, it is a great fortune to live within the temple premises. Even if you look at the ancient temples like Sri Rangam, you'll see there are so many quarters around the temple, because devotees want to live very close to the temple. They don't want to live away from the temple. It is very painful for them. They see that separation from the Lord. They see an opportunity of not getting purified. So it is very painful. So the quarters are made just around the temple. And not only that, whole cities are made around the temple. Just like Jaipur, entire city is made around the temple so that everyone can come and participate in the temple activities. Just like we see Govinji Mandir, how thousands and thousands of devotees come for the Mangalarti. Thousands and thousands. You see, we find few devotees for the Mangalarti, but the whole city, the kings have made in such a way, the culture has been made in such a way that people live around the temple. So it is very, very important to appreciate this importance of these holy places and how to live by hearing in the association of devotees. There are many devotees who vow never to leave Vrindavan, Mathura. This is undoubtedly a good vow, but if one leaves Vrindavan, Mathura or Navadvip Dham for the service of the Lord, is not disconnected from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's very applicable for us that sometimes we may think, oh, we are away from Holy Dham, but Prabhupada is saying here a very important point, but if one leaves these dhams for the service of the Lord, is not disconnected from the Lord. The purpose of going to the dham is to connect with the Lord, and that so-called disconnect for someone who is away from the dham will not be felt if one is doing devotional service to the Lord. And that is what Srila Prabhupada has exhibited. He was away from Holy Dham. He was residing in the Holy Dham for many, many years. And he decided to come to the Western world and travel all over the world. And one may see, oh, he is not in Dham, but no. A pure devotee carries the Lord in his heart, and therefore, wherever he is, that is a place of pilgrimage. And wherever he goes, that is a place of pilgrimage. And here Srila Prabhupada is residing, and the Lordship Sri Sri Gaurnita and Sri Sri Radha Damodara are residing. And therefore, this is non-different from the spiritual world. Anyone who executes devotional service in these places suddenly goes back home, back to Godhead after giving up his body. Thus the words Mathura Bhagavan Yatra Nityam Sannihito Harihi are particularly important. A devotee should fully utilize this instruction to the best of his ability. So the going back to home, back to Godhead becomes very, very congenial, very easy by living in a holy dham. In fact, it is said that the chanting that one does, the devotional service that one does, is like 1,000 times more beneficial, or one gets more credit if one does in a holy dham. And therefore, there are many, many saintly people who take their vow to strictly not to go out of the periphery of the dham of Vrindavan. They make that whatever happens, I will not leave this place. Similarly, so these are very, very nice, the important points to recognize, that we should all aspire to stay in temples, at least close to the temples, and spend time in these holy dhams, get association of saintly advanced devotees, Vaishnavas, get quickly purified. This is very important. Whenever the Supreme Lord personally appears, he appears in Mathura because of his intimate connection with this place. Therefore, although Mathura and Vrindavan are situated on this planet Earth, they are transcendental abodes of the Lord. So it is very important that unless one does not see with the spiritual vision, one cannot see the importance of these places. And therefore, even before one visits these places, or when one is visiting these places, it is important to have a devotee with one who is visiting these places, because the devotees will explain how to see these places, how are these connected to the Supreme Lord, what are the different transcendental pastimes the Lord has performed here, and how one should engage oneself, one's body, mind, and senses in Dham. So if one learns under the directions of pure devotee and his representatives, then one can get great benefit. In fact, in various different places, the glories of Mathura are given, and one place in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is mentioned, Mathura Mandale Snanam Yatra Leela Katha Priyaha Sarvagaha Nashanam Tatra Vasas Tat Pada Sevanam. Simply bathing within the Mathura region, where discussions of the Lord's pastimes are always sweetly relished, removes all sins. Reciting there and serving Krishna's lotus feet grant ultimate liberation. So, hearing about Krishna Katha, engaging devotional service in holy dham is very, very important. Most people just go to sightseeing just to make a social gathering of some sort, but that is not what it is meant. Even when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he took bath in various ghats, he visited various temples. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so eager to go to Vrindavan. In fact, as soon as he went to Vrindavan, he was lost in ecstasy. As soon as he went to Mathura, he was lost in ecstasy. And his ecstasy further got increased 1,000 times when he goes to Vrindavan, and even more so when he goes to Radhakund. So these are transcendental abodes of the Lord's with his innumerable pastimes. And one who hears about them can actually see them. And Srila Prabhupada in his own life explains about his meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj during this Vrajamandal Parikrama, where once there was an opportunity for devotees to either go and visit some of these places, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj didn't want to go, I think because of his health, and he wanted to just give a class. And most of the devotees went to see those places, but Prabhupada stayed there to listen to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. So this is very important. Sometimes people misunderstand that to go to a holy place means just to go and come. No, one has to go by hearing how to engage in a holy dham, how to understand the glories of the holy dham. That is very, very important for all of us, because as neophytes, we commit various offenses when we are not hearing about the importance of these places. So just to conclude, that different places have different influences on us. If you live in a place like city, it is in the mode of passion. So we also generate certain kinds of, it influences us to be more in the mode of passion. to associate or live in places where it is clubs, pubs, gambling houses is to like live in mode of ignorance. Forest promotes us to the mode of goodness, but residing in a temple, in a holy Dham, Mathura, Vrindavan, Dwarka Dham, Jagannath Puri. In fact, there are other holy dhams. So India is filled with various dhams: Haridwar, Prayag, Rameshwaram. So these are all different pilgrimage places which are all filled with various spiritual potencies. And especially for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Vrindavan, Navadvip are the most Jagannath Puri are very sacred because Jagannath Puri is the place where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu resided for many, many years. He took, he appeared in Navadvip Mayapur Dham, and Lord Krishna appeared in Mathura and Vrindavan and performed his various pastimes. So these are very, very important places, and they are freed from all material influences. They are beyond the modes of material nature, and they are non-different from the Lord. And therefore, associating with these dhams, these holy places, makes us transcendently purified. And in order to stay in a dham or to visit a dham, we must associate with the saintly people in the dham and not just be going for sightseeing or for some kind of a social meeting or a gathering. That is very important. And it is very also very important that one should render devotional service while living in dham. One should enhance one's devotional service and be from sense gratification. And as Prabhupada is saying, if one is rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord or devotional service to the Lord, even if one is away the so-called dham of not living exactly in the dham, but if one is engaging the service of the Lord, like just like this temple or any other temple that Srila Prabhupada has created, these places are also as good as dham because they are also freed from nirguna. They are freed from material modes of material nature, and therefore one can derive the same benefit. And the benefit is that it makes one's very easy to go back to home, back to Godhead, and be situated in transcendental position. So it's very important that every one of us can take more advantage of being in this place. Especially this temple hall is very, very special, and we're very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada has created these pockets where we can live and experience a transcendental spiritual life. So we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Tagore